hold on 1 second. I want my daughter to assist with the libation. I'll call her.
My name is Mami Kwasewa, and I welcome you to the Pan-African Women's Day celebration. I am a member of the AAPRP, which is the All African People's Revolutionary Party, and will be your MC for this great event. It means so much to me that our brothers and sisters from various areas across the African continent are here to witness and also support the event. The theme for this year's event is Pan-African Women on the Front Line. When you step outside, to your right is the female washroom. Next to it is the male washroom. There's also the propaganda table for newsletters and other information about the event. We have a lot of activities lined up today ready for justification. But before the actual program begins, Dr. Obadele Kambon, he is a research fellow of the African Studies Institute. He will do the libation, after which we proceed. Thank you.
And as the theme is African women on the front line, we have a very young African woman who will assist with the libation. This is my daughter, Anna.
Otumfo awurade nyokopon twere mponkwame ye kire wonsu ye ma wonsuo asase ya mpanyemwa asase odi amu asamana due ni die dimrefa due wonsu ni o wonsu ni aboso nya so modo so nti yintumi efram nyina na so ye fra ba kwa na ye fram nyina asu tano konkon tano brefa tano akone di won sabenkum ni astudio bi atu boafo asu boame aso je fom nyina afri atifo afo na pye na toye asu abina nyina momra me je monsuo na no sama fom nyina afri atifo afo apye na toye mu nyina momra Emma Mokon, and the Ama Abibi Fahondi, said a bear before Benya Fahodi, our Bibi mine, and the Amanoni, Muyina Mumra, yes, Su Fremo, Harriet Tommy, so Jonah too, Muyina Mumra, Amakasi Yao. Muyina Mumra, Yas Antois, more Mokon, and the Ama Fahondi, I will be remind her, and the Amanoni, Muyina Mumra, other be wells, Muyina Mumra. Momodin, everyone say the names of those great African ancestors. Momodin. Yao. Monka. Yao. Yao. Nani. Yao. Nzinga. Yao. Amani Rina. Yao. Amos Nefertari. Yao. Yao. Now, and say, Quasiada area, yes, from Kwana, Kansan, yes, from Nyansa, yes, from Conso. And then Puntua, they might be reminding, and abifo nyinaa ayɛ wɔ ɔman yi monhyerɛ nyinaa yɛ hyia ha yɛsɛ ɛnɛ yɛbɛpɛ dwumadie bi a ɛfa abibifoɔ ma ama ɔkɔn ade ama abibifa hodeɛ nti moma nyɛ nyansa ne nkɔsoɔ ne mpontoɔ ne kankɔ ayɛ wɔ saa dwumadie yi mu na deɛ ɔmpɛ sɛ nya nkɔsoɔ no deɛ ɔgya nhyɛ n'asopɔ nyinaa ase na nka baako wɔ nyinaa ne ɛsrɛ mu ɔdaworoma ɔman bi a ɔpɛ sɛ nka abibiman agyigya deɛ ɔgya nhyɛ n'asopɔ nyinaa na nka baako moma nyɛmfa nagyapade no mu ɔnyinaa ne ɛsrɛ mu ɔdaworoma monhyira yi nyinaa yɛ wɔ ha yi monhyira mmea me pae monhyira me ba ama sɛdɛ bɛyɛ adaakye wɔn nso ɔbɛko ɛde ama abibiman wɔ nyinaa yɛ srɛ mu yi ɔdaworoma yo
Well, thank you, Dr. Obadele Kambon. I love this pretty little girl. She's so cute, isn't she? Okay, today being the 23rd of August 2015 marks the second edition of this event in Ghana. It's been celebrated across countries, but it's the second time in Ghana. This day is chosen to celebrate the historic achievement of Pan-African women because the history of Pan-African women began in August. Do you know that? Yeah, it was begun in August. So it is suggested that the event would hold or happen subsequently in August. Well, it is important to acknowledge some organizations here present. We have AAPRP, which has been our main supporter. So we give it to AAPRP, any member of AAPRP to come and introduce themselves. AAPRP. Okay, all right. The AAPRP, since I'm from there, is the All African People's Revolutionary Party, which has the Women's Wing, which is the AAWRU. That's the All African Women's Revolutionary Union. Okay. I think they were involved. They are involved in presenting this event. Okay, so we have the ARF, which is the African Renaissance Foundation. We'll call Dr. Z to. Okay, Zonki. Zonki will do the introduction. Give it to me.
Hello, good afternoon. The African Renaissance Foundation is an Africa-based international non-profit educational organization with the objective of bringing back the ancient wisdom knowledge of Africa to its people now and for future generations. Our vision is about global reawakening of African peoples for knowledge from ancient times to the present, and true knowledge about Africa's vast contributions to the world civilization, as well as correcting the distortions and falsehoods about African people in African world history. More importantly, ARF's vision is inspiring confidence, courage, competence, and commitment in African youth in seeking the truth through steady research in all areas of African historiography, pursuing excellence in every field of endeavor. Our main objective being to teach the truth to the youth in order to bring about the realization of our vision. The African Renaissance website is an educational study of African classics, the study of antiquity before Greece and Rome, and our related African studies online. The website contains various subjects from antiquity to the present on matters vital to African resurgence. The contents are intended to fill the missing pages of world history and to reveal hidden facts about African history and that were never taught in history class. More importantly, it must be noted that these African now Valley Africans were the originators of world's greatest ancient civilization, are in fact the same Africans who now occupy the sub-Saharan regions in Africa today. It is very knowledgeable that the African world is lacking, which has caused a collective amnesia, a loss of consciousness, and self-confidence. Dr. Z says, We can no longer stand by and watch our children being led to become educated misfits, imitations of Arabs or Europeans, and having nothing in their ancestral past to be proud of. This is our challenge to be educators who are charged with developing the minds of the youth. It is our duty to make sure our children are prepared to meet the standards of the 21st century, to become the social architects and engineers of Africa's future, to become a sovereign, self-determined people. To do this, we must create new patterns of thinking in African people to shift into an entirely new paradigm of being, defining for ourselves what it means to be African. Thank you.
A lot from African Renaissance Foundation. Dr. Z here is the founder of the group. So maybe for all information, Dr. Z, let's see you. Yeah, that's Dr. Z. Okay, so if you want more information about the club, maybe after the program, you'll meet them outside or something. Thank you. Okay, let's have Black Star Line Credit Corporation Union. Cooperative Union, sorry. So Black Star Line, you're waiting. Anybody to do introduction for Black Star Line?
Anyway, good afternoon. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with so many powerful women. First of all, I myself cannot be who I am without my wife. That's one. It's the truth. I am not supposed to be even speaking on the credit union today, but I will do it very briefly as they have not yet arrived. The Black Star Line Cooperative Credit Union was founded by the Rastafari Council of Ghana. And it is an economic plan. We thought, how best can we get our own economic strategy up and working? And so we designed the credit union. And it was very difficult in building it, but today we have meet all the regulations and the requirements of COA, which is the Ghana National Board of Credit Unions. So we are a legal registered credit union moving forward with almost 200 members and more. I would encourage every Pan-African minded person or individual to get on board, because I know majority of us have savings accounts in either Barclays or all the other banks, the oppressors' banks. It's best for us to try to build our own bank in terms of self-reliance. And it's the way forward, because if we don't have an economic plan, then we are behind. So on behalf of the Black Star Line Cooperative Credit Union, I will just give my solidarity and blessings to this wonderful event put on by the AAPR, All African People Revolutionary Party, Women's Revolutionary Union. More power to the woman. And we are here to give full support. Thank you so much.
All right.
This is a Libation man coming at you once again. All right. Abibitumi Kasa, for those who understand the Twi language, it translates to Black Power language. And it came about, my parents had a bookstore, a cultural center. The bookstore is called Blacknificent Books and More. And I was listening to a lecture by Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. And after the lecture, I thought the lecture was so powerful, but how come it had to take place in English? How come whenever we are talking about African liberation, it has to go on in the languages of our oppressors? And Timeka said, so I said, I didn't why can't we speak about African liberation? I will in our own languages. Now I hope now we find said any and that is where AfricanLiberation.com and Abibitumi Kasa came about. And Yoruba, Wolof, so there we teach Twi, we teach Wolof, we teach Yoruba, We also teach Medu nature. You were many mature, the kind of the cosmic answer. You were a church or Medu nature. So I'm the one who teaches 1 through 3, and then we have other instructors as well who teach the Medu nature. After you can say, some kind of pepper, and will say, yes, I will yan Kasimu, and you have Katan Kwana, and will say, Pahundi Kasa, and Basu. It's not in the languages of our erstwhile oppressors that African liberation must be discussed. And on to me, can say, Mamma Shadan Kanchi, Serebea, who said, it's me Basu, Meba Ama, Mitron Ufi, my child, I'm a teacher at home. May call Umzansi, maybe I'm from South Africa. I went to Umzansi, which is the indigenous name for South Africa. May call her. Now, I heard the people be brave or can say, oh, I will say it's your Krum Casa. I will say it's your Krum Casa. Everyone there was having a meeting. They were saying we must teach in our own languages. I'm Bibisa say, Mua Moma, which round? I will Mua Mokasmuana. So I asked them, your own children, do you teach them in your language? Everyone was looking at their shoes. And so we want the government to do something that we ourselves are not doing. Maybe I'm a maternal fee. I feel my child, I'm a teacher at home in this tree that I used to teach her. And see, so science, I'm a friend mathematics, Bibia, maternal, Iowa, Yana in Casam, Sabrano, or who said, Yan Casano, a somewhat. And that's the way that she sees that all languages are valuable. Efiti democracy. And the maternity, so if you want to know more about it, you can go to the website abibitumikasa @kom.com, abibitumikasa.com.
Okay, so thank you, Ebibitumi Kasa. We'd also like to acknowledge the Africa Youth Improvement Foundation. They're also here to support the event. Okay, so yeah, show by hand again. Africa Youth Improvement Foundation. Yes, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if we have all these organizations here present, then definitely this event is going to have great impact on mine today. Don't you believe it? Yes. And so I want to encourage the youth to take up responsibilities and positions in these organizations because I believe that the youth is a big influence in society today. Yeah. Okay. There's a contest going on. And then there's a young man. Is it a young man? Is it Baba Rene? Yes. Very young. An old man. Very young. Yeah. Old and young. So, yeah, he's outside there. So if you want to participate in the contest, please kindly walk there and pick up a form to get the chance of. There's a chance of earning a prize if you are able to provide at least 10 names of the Pan-African women. Yeah, that's a contest. So I insist that some people would participate in it. Yeah. Let me give you a brief history. Yeah, that's Baba Rene. That's him, Baba Rene. So if you see him, the contest for there's the Pan-African Women Contest. Yes, so if you see him, he'll give you the form and then you'll be able to participate, okay? Let me give you a brief history of this event. This celebration is actually born of the All African Women Revolutionary Union, founded in 1980 in Columbus, Ohio. It was founded to address the triple oppression of women both inside and outside the organization. You know, women are oppressed based on race, gender, and class. So the AAPRP realized that as an organization, they won't allow women who are seeking to achieve Pan-Africanism be oppressed. And so they sprang out the AAWRU, which has become the women's wing of AAPRP. Let's give a clap for AAPRP. They have been our main supporters from start to now. Thank you, AAPRP. Pan-African Women's Day celebrates the women's achievements in the liberation movement for national and African continental liberation, political and human rights, for justice, peace, and Pan-African unity. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, uncles and aunties, mothers and fathers, let me remind you that the theme for this event is Pan-African Women on the Front Line. Because we understand that Pan-Africanism is the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. Okay, for scientific socialism is the equal distribution of health and wealth and the resources in the society. So, for this occasion, we would focus especially on women in the sectors of health, education, and economics from a revolutionary Pan-African perspective. In a minute, there will be a slideshow of the 17 Pan-African women that will be facilitated by these princesses of Mother Africa. We have Zonke, Akosua, Nana Danswa, and Nana Pepra. So Zonke will start.
Hello once again. First, we start with the queens of the ancient time. Queen Hatshepsut. During her reign, the first royal queen in African history is clearly seen. Her reign was one of the most outstanding in the 18th dynasty of Egypt, proving that a woman can be strong and effective as a ruler as a man. She displayed characteristics of both her parents by being a brilliant, strong African leader, as well as a woman who loved peace and domestic order in another. She was depicted as a lion overcoming the enemy and as a woman praying for peace.
Please be patient. We have a little technical difficulties, but I promise we'll return to you soon. Thank you.
Hello. I'll continue without a slideshow. Second is Queen Makeda, 960 BC. The story of this queen, also known as Delkis, is told in the Bible, Talmud, Quran, Kebra Nagas, and Book of Axum as the legendary Queen of Sheba. Her encounter with Solomon is well known. Queen Makeda was a great administrator, builder, international stateswoman, and commercial trader. She ruled her nation, which included parts of Upper Egypt, Ethiopia, parts of Arabia, Syria, Armenia, and parts of India, with justice, fortitude, and wisdom for 50 years. She built her capital at Debra Makeda, which later became a meeting place for the early Christians of Ethiopia. Queen Amina, 1550. Queen Amina of Zaria was an African warrior queen, remembered for her fierce military exploits. A brilliant military strategist, she expanded the territory of Zaria under her reign. Her legend was celebrated by a Nigerian stamp in 1976. She is still remembered today as an African warrior queen who fought many battles and won them all. Queen Nani, 1740. Queen Nani was kidnapped from Ghana as a child and sent to Jamaica as a slave. She escaped and later became the leader of the Ringwood Maroons. Maroons were Africans who refused to be slaves. Nani ruled as a queen and a high priestess. She defeated the British in many battles. She later agreed to a peace treaty with the British where the Maroons were given independence and land in the hills of Jamaica. Thank you.
Good afternoon once again. I'm Akosia. And Scrabble Anastasia, 18,000. She was a woman from Angola who was enslaved in Brazil. The daughter of an African princess, she was reputed to work miracles and be a model of virtue despite her status as a slave. Harriet Tubman, 1880. Harriet Tubman was an African born in America who was an abolitionist, army commander, and humanitarian. Born a slave, she escaped in 1849. She made more than 19 journeys to rescue more than 300 enslaved Africans with the help of a network known as Underground Railroad. She was the first woman in America to lead the armed expedition in the Civil War that liberated 700 enslaved Africans. Amy Ashugari, 1914. Born in Jamaica, her grandmother told her she was an Ashanti descent. In 1914, she was the co-founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. She later moved to England, where she established the International Africa Friends of Abyssinia. The year 1944 saw her joining the West Indies National Council and the Council on African Affairs. The Association of the Advancement of Colored People was another organization she co-founded. Queen Mother Adulemore, 1950. An African woman born in America, she joined the UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement Association, in New York around 1918. She left the UNIA in 1950 and founded the Universal Association of Ethiopian Women. A mentor and guide to many people in Pan-African community, she was an inspiring constant in the New York area for over 50 years. The National Council of Negro Women was another organization she co-founded. Amy Shakespeare, 1930. She was a pioneering journalist, orator, activist and organizer who dedicated her life towards the attainment of Pan-Africanism. She moved from Jamaica to New York City in 1918 and became involved with Marcus Garvey at the Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNIA. She became the editor of UNIA newspaper, The Negro World, which was published in 3 languages. She helped make the UNIA the largest Pan-African organization in history, with more than 6 million members in more than 40 countries around the world. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nana Danswa Obey. I am here to represent some of the 17 women. Lilian Ngoli, 1955, a stalwart organizer and leader in South African struggle against apartheid. She was at the same time president of the Federation of African Women, while also the leader of the African National Congress, ANC Women's League. She was in the forefront of the organized movement against the required carrying of pass by African women in the early 1950s. Impala Kamara, 1955, a young organizer from Guinea in West Africa. She was a core member of the group that founded the Democratic Party of Guinea, PDG, in 1952, along with Ahmed Sékou Touré and Mufari Bangaru. She was murdered at the age of 26 by agents of the French in 1955. As a result of her role as a revolutionary and freedom fighter, the people of Guinea celebrate February 9th, her birthday, as National Women's Day in Guinea. Deolinda Rodriguez, 1960. A young Pan-Africanist and writer, she joined the Movement for the Popular Liberation of Angola, MPLA. In her late teens, she became a member of its Central Committee, where she organized programs to help defeat Portuguese colonialism. An original member of the MPLA, Armed Women's Brigade, the Kami Squadron. Returning from a combat mission, she was captured by agents of Portugal. She was later tortured and murdered in a prison cell in 1962. Ernestina Silla, a revolutionary freedom fighter from Guinea-Bissau in West Africa. She joined the African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde, PAIGC, when she was 20 years old. In the fight against Portuguese colonialism, she rose to the position of commander in the Liberation Army and was responsible for many combat operations. On her way to attend the funeral of Amilcar Cabral, former leader of PAIGC, she was killed trying to cross the Faroum River in Guinea-Bissau. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Africans. My name is Nana Pepera. I'm reading the last 4 women of the 17 African sheroes. And first on my list is Assata Oluga Shakur, an inspirational woman in the struggle of African people in America to be free and independent. As a university student, she joined the Black Panther Party for self-defense. She later became the leader and commander for the Black Liberation Army in America, imprisoned for a crime she did not commit. She was able to escape from prison in 1973 and is presently living in Cuba. Presently, she is a living symbol of continuing struggle for Pan-Africanism residing in Cuba.
Go ahead.
Josina Machel, a revolutionary and national icon in the war against Portuguese colonialism. She was a member for the Front for the Liberation of Mozambique. As a teenager, Frelimo, she met and married Samora Machel, who would become the first president of the nation while organizing for Frelimo. As a result of her commitment and dedication to the revolution, the people of Mozambique made her birthday, April 7th, National Women's Day, after her death. Kamara Pereira. Her political involvement began in 1962 when she became a member of the African Party for the independence of Guinea and Cape Verde. She was a revolutionary who fought the Portuguese in Guinea-Bissau, chosen as a delegate to the Pan-African Women Organization in Algeria. She later became a Minister of State and was the first woman president of an African nation in 1984. When Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde became independent, she is currently living in Guinea-Bissau. Askalu Menkerios, a revolutionary freedom fighter with Eritrea People Liberation Front. She was a member of the Liberation Force commanded by Ibrahim Alpha that fought and succeeded in creating the African nation of Eritrea in 1994. Askalu Menkerios was a soldier in the EPLF army, where women made up of 40% of an liberation army. She is currently a minister in the government of Eritrea. Thank you. My name is Nana Pipariti.
I would want to acknowledge Madam Marina M. Blake. She is attorney at law of Blake and Associates. She is also a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association and the Association of Black Women Attorneys. Madam Marina, as Madam Marina in the house, I want to say that's Madam Marina. We thank you for making it to this program. We appreciate it. Okay, I also want to acknowledge Perfect Ashla Limited, who have been of great help to the AAWRU for this particular event. You can get more information at their website www.facebook.com/perfectashlafarms. Okay, I want to talk about AAPRP. I can't stop talking about AAPRP. The AAPRP is an international Pan-African political party called for Dr. Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah in the Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare in 1968. We have a chapter here in Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, Gambia, Tanzania, the United States, England, and Canada. Okay, for now, as I announced the contest which was going on, we're going to have a slideshow of the 10 Pan-African women, which will at least give you a gist of their names, if you're able to identify them. Yes, so the 10 Pan-African women will be rolling on the screen right here. Okay, if you were able to get the papers out there, Sister Julia has the paper for the contest, so you can get the form now. I can easily distribute to you if you want to participate in the contest. There's a chance of earning a prize if you are able to provide those 10 names. I am participating in the contest too because I want to win the prize. Yeah. This is also to educate you, to make you knowledgeable about the Pan-African women. We want you to know the history and the achievements. Okay? So please don't concentrate much on the prize because I feel that it is important for you to know what they have done for Africa as well. Because Africa is a mother, and mothers are important, are equally important. Yeah. Okay, we'll also acknowledge the presence of Dr. Beatrice Ebel of So Dr. Beatrice Ebel. Yeah, that's Dr. Beatrice. I want her to tell us where she belongs or where she's coming from, what she does. Dr. Beatrice.
Sorry to distract your attentions, my distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm in Nigeria. I coordinate the West African Women Association chapter of Nigeria within the ECOWAS 15 countries. And I came into Ghana to receive an honorary degree in as a doctor, PhD doctor. It was done yesterday, and my team, I was just going to go to the airport when they alerted me and said, okay, let me come and wish all of you well. Thank you for providing this forum. We need to work together. We need the women to work together. Network, teamwork, that is the only success for all of us. Africa, we should be proud of ourselves. Thank you, God bless you all.
Of course, network, teamwork is definitely going to be a success for us. For Dr. Beatrice, thank you so much. We appreciate that you're present here. Now, I wanted to do something to, I don't know whether there's water in this house. I don't think there's water in this house, is there? There's no water in this house. Okay, so I want to take you to the classroom now. We are going to the lecture room. And this section of the program has given me the opportunity to introduce to you our panelists who are going to do their paper presentations. We have Nanaya. We have Fifami Sandrine. Fifami Sandrine. We have Benes Ajare. And of course, me, myself, and I'm not going to be part of this anymore. Okay, I want us to do some exercise before they go on with their presentations. Please be up. Please be upstanding, everybody. Okay, so each of you should get a partner. Get a partner. Yeah, get a partner, please. I've seen you all holding hands. Are we going to do anything active? Or are we going to do anything active? Okay, so, alright. That is good. Thank you for being my partner. Okay, so that's what you're going to do with your partner. I'm going to say 1, you say 2, I say Africa, African woman. On the third one. Then you repeat again. 1. So let's do an example. 1.
1.
No. You missed it right now. 1.
2.
African woman. No. 1.
1.
Okay. My partner is something else. I've gotten a new partner. So 1, 2, African woman. 1, 2, African woman. 1, 2, African woman. Yay! So this is what we're going to do with our partners. And so let's the game begin. So go. 1, Okay, so while you take your seat, there is another interesting game. Dr. Z. Is Dr. Z around? Okay. Okay. All right. It was very interesting, but don't worry. After within the presentation, we'll have that. Okay. It is best to hear from your own horse's mouth, so I present it to who is beginning? Sister Bennett Ajare is beginning, so I hand the mic to you.
Hello. Welcome everyone, my fellow Africans. Welcome once again. I'm Bennett Ajare, a nutritionist by profession and a member of the AAPRP. In my life and work, I have met several African women who have been active in social justice movements. And these have helped individuals to be, has brought enormous difference in countless individuals. When the African house is not in order, we are in great danger. And that is why we are gathered here to have a discussion how we can build a nation we need to survive and flourish as people. So I'm going to present a paper on health, how we can get our health we can be active and healthy as individuals and Africans in a whole. While this presentation will provide some specific information that we may improve our health, the health of an African woman, we must recognize that the primary reasons some may suffer from poor health, quality of life, has more to do with the political and economic oppression, as it does to our individual behaviors and choices. While I will discuss some scientific proven and concrete steps that can be taken to improve health, it is critical that we realize that the only way to improve our health is to replace an unhealthy, inhuman, and exploitative capitalist system with one that values human lives over selfish, cooperative, and individualized profits and greed. In recent years, in many African countries, there have been some factors that have contributed to improving health for women. More knowledge, public education, and awareness have resulted in some improvements in some areas as it relates to women's health. However, these improvements have been far, far less adequate. According to the World Health Organization, of the 20 countries with the highest maternal mortality ratio worldwide, 19 are in Africa. And Africa has the highest maternal death rate in the world. There's statistics after statistics that documents the poor condition African women face when it comes to health-related issues. And while in some areas there have been improvements, we are also seeing many areas where conditions are stagnant and getting worse. For example, there's a growing strain on African health system imposed by the high burden of life-threatening communicable diseases, coupled with increasing rates in non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, and coronary heart disease. These are affecting women at a higher and higher rates. Complicating matters further, basic sanitation needs remains unmet for many. Over 58% of people living in the sub-Saharan Africa have access to safe water supplies. Globally, poor sanitation is one of the world's biggest killers, with women and children being impacted the most. Just like mothers and ourselves carrying water when there's shortage. There was a time they even had this 4 gallons. I hope we all remember that time. There are many reputable studies. In Africa, we spend 40 billion hours a year walking to get water, with women and girls carrying 2/3 of this burden. Almost 700 million of us do not have access to basic toilet facilities. Although the international non-governmental community frequently tells the wide-ranging health-related interventions that are being implemented in Africa, more often than not, these largely Western aid-based initiatives benefit the non-governmental entities and leave very little change for the average African woman. There are many reputable studies that have questioned the value and real intention of these initiatives. Even if we are to accept that there's some value to these initiatives, they generally fall short of what is necessary for the following reasons. Health systems are too weak and services are too under-resourced to support real reduction in the disease burden. The brain drain. The brain drain is a major obstacle to providing quality health care in Africa because countries are losing their own qualified and experienced medical professions. For example, there are more nurses from Malawi in Manchester, England than in Malawi, and more Ethiopian doctors in the city of Chicago in the US than in Ethiopia. We are also facing the same in Ghana as well. Because we find out that our professional doctors tend to leave the country for greener pastures. Because they claim they are not being paid well in their own country, Ghana. And our nurses, we also lose our nurses as well. There's an ongoing strike that was just stopped recently. Health interventions often do not match the scale of the problem. People are not sufficiently empowered to improve their health, nor adequately involved in planning and implementing solutions. This is especially critical when cultural factors play a role in health-changing behaviors. The benefits of health services do not equitably reach those with a greater disease burden. There's a wide spread of poverty, marginalization, and displacement on the continent. Environmental factors and degradation are not sufficiently addressed. So we are now come to talk about some risk factors to health you can control. And these include what you eat. For example, fruits and vegetables, whole grain meals, brown rice. Most of us prefer the perfumed rice, jasmine, sultana, Gino rice, Millicent.
Yeah, that's
Royal Feast. Millicent. Wow, this is new.
Yes.
I've heard of Cindy too. Yeah. Whilst those are all polished rice that kills our immune system. Because when it's polished, you don't get any nutrients in it that can help the body grow. Then, how much physical activity you get. How many of us did exercise today? Are you sure about that? At least 30 minutes of exercise. Not walking. Your body is used to the walking from your house to the junction. If you had told yourself you walk, you drive. If you drive,
it's exercise.
This is it exercising when you drive?
No, you didn't get what I said. I said if you drive every day and you decide to walk instead of driving, let's say to the office and you walk, you are exercising.
Yes, yes. I thought you said when you drive you exercise.
Not at all. No, that's why we are exercising.
Okay. So we should exercise at least 30 minutes a day or 3 times in a week. That will prevent heart disease, stroke, and high blood pressure. Whether you use tobacco, smoking, affecting your lungs, then how much alcohol you drink, whether you use illegal drugs, sniffing, injecting. Am I hearing something? An unhealthy diet and not exercising help makes someone overweight or obese. Being overweight raises the risk of having some health problems like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, breathing problems, arthritis, gallbladder disease, and some cancers as well. I have just mentioned a few recommendations that an African woman can do to attain a good and healthy lifestyle. African women can engage in a long-term, difficult task of bringing about political and social change. It is only through engaging in and winning this political struggle to power that will ultimately have a chance to change the society for the better. It is clear that when we look at the list of problems mentioned previously that impact on health of African women, many of them can easily be eradicated through Pan-Africanism, one unified socialist Africa. For example, there will be no need for our health system to be weak or under-resourced if we are to have the vast wealth of our natural resources available to us, as oppressed to the foreign individuals, governments, and corporations. Having the political power of the united and socialist African continent, we would not have to submit to foreign ideologies and agendas that are often incompatible with our culture and values. We would have the confidence and ability to use modern science to develop our own solutions from our own environment. We would see a growth in the research and use of African-based plants and other medicinal and natural practices. Science would be used for human advancements rather than capitalist profits. For example, the Edibidro we have around and the herbal medicines. Being able to plan continentally, we will be able to allocate resources where they are most needed, rather than based on the country that has connections to which former colonial power. We would be able to plan and implement strategies and solutions that are not constrained by artificial boundaries that would not recognize ethnic, ecological, and cultural details. Then with the GMOs, genetically modified organisms, they are a group of plants, animals, and bacteria that are engineered for a wide variety of applications, ranging from agricultural products to scientific research. And we had an issue in Ghana when Food Sovereignty Ghana and the Rastafarian Council sued Ministry of Food and Agriculture. And there was an injunction placed on the importation of the GMO seeds in Ghana. And lastly, the poverty and economic deprivation that is at the core of so many of our health-related problems would be a thing of the past. No longer would we have to choose between eating and getting a medical treatment, between transporting a sick child or paying school fees, when we all decide to have a one united socialist community that will help each and every individual in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. And next we have Fifami Sandrine. Fifami Sandrine is a French from Benin and also a member of the AAPRP.
Thank you. Once again, honorable and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm very happy you are with us today, and I'm privileged to present to you the team Women in Education. My name is Fifami Sandrine. Well, we have been observing a whole lot of things in our societies about women. And all this that we have been observing have their consequences and their advantages if the right thing is done. Okay, what do we observe? As you are aware of, education. There is a saying that if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. Isn't it true? It is. Men are already programmed. They are preoccupied by business. They are preoccupied by new contracts. They are preoccupied by meetings. They want to make it possible for their wife to be comfortable. They want to make everything possible for their children to be comfortable. Then educating children becomes the woman's responsibility. And if the woman is not educated, how can she transmit this to her children? How can she help them to read, to write, and to understand? We must understand that we have formal, informal, and political education. Formal education, we go to school. Informal education, we learn from life. We learn from our elders. We learn from our mentors. The political education, we must understand the needs of people. What do they need? What can I offer them? And they will be satisfied and happy. It's not what I think, but I have to understand what do they really need. In a home where the man is educated and the woman is not educated, what can be the results? The result can be master-slave relationship. You will agree with me that men are given more opportunities than women. Let's take transportation for instance. Only men are taxi drivers. Only men are tractor drivers. Women also can be drivers, tractor drivers. But it's not common. Can a woman be a carpenter? One day, I was in my house and I saw a crowd outside. I decided to step out and find out what was happening. And they just pointed out to a woman and said, look at her, she's the carpenter, she's fixing the roof. Why were they saying that? Because it is not common. It's like that work, those kind of work are only made for men. Then when a woman is doing it, it's become something absolute, something bizarre. Let me underline. African women are third-class citizens in most African countries. They are discriminated in sex, they are discriminated in race, and they are discriminated in class. Why should it be so? If I had to talk about economic challenges, let's visit a family with three children. 2 boys, 1 girl, or 2 girls, one boy. The family do not have, they can't afford school fees for the 3. They can only afford school fees for 1 person. Who would they sacrifice? All right. Answer this yourself. I have a secret for you. You know, we need more women in power to change Africa. Why? Because naturally, women have intuition and foresight. Intuition, foresight, and political consciousness will not allow women to go and beg the IMF the way our men have been doing and giving our resources away. Women, I said women with political what men are doing, or even worse. But any woman with political consciousness will not do what they are doing. You know why? Because women know how to keep home. They know how to protect what belongs to them. And because they know how to protect what belongs to them, they will protect what belongs to Africa. Because you know Africa is our home. Could you please and watch this with me?
America, I'm hungry. Sorry to hear it. Can we have some food? Not for free, you can't. Do you have any natural resources we might be interested in? What's a natural resource like? Trees and grass? No, like gold, diamonds, oil. Oh, yeah, tons of. IMF, get over here. What can I do for you? Africa, this is the International Monetary Fund. They're going to give you tons of food and money. Hi. You guys are so nice. When do you want us to pay you back? Honestly, your interest is going to be more than your GDP. So you're never even going to be able to pay it back. America, thank you for this food. Tell you what, if you have any companies that want our resources, we'd love to have them.
You see that? This is what our men are doing. And have you seen any woman there now? They know they cannot represent Africa by women. Because any woman with political consciousness will not do that. As you can see, women are viewed as commodities in our societies. Wow. Some parents will decide, oh, my daughter, I don't have money now. You know, that man that has been disturbing you, you just go and marry him. Then they will push the girl to go and marry so that the investment of the investment of education go to the family they are marrying to. Some will just send their daughters to, let me send her to Accra. Some will send her to UK or somewhere. And sometimes the girls end up suffering. Some mothers, especially from our villages, will say, no, if I eat sons, my daughter also eats sons. Then they are not sending her anywhere, and they can't also allow her to go to school because they said the money I'll take to invest in her, I'll just a bit of it, set up a business for her, and that's all. Oh yeah. Market, farm, home. Market, farm, home. Market, farm, home. And that's finished. That's all. They just bought this thing of the call. Could you please listen to the statement of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah?
Hello, my name is Zaida Bulletin. Nkrumah at the opening of the African Institute at the University of Ghana, Lagos, on October 25, 1963. We must regard education as the gateway to the enchanted cities of the mind, and not only as a means to personal economic security and social privilege. Indeed, education consists not only in the sum of what a person knows, or the skill with which he can put this to his own advantage. In my view, a person's education must also be measured in terms of the soundness of his judgment of people and things, and in his power to understand and appreciate the needs of his people and to be of service to them. The educated person should be so sensitive to the conditions around him that he makes it his chief endeavor to improve those conditions. Thank you.
If you can remember anything I said so far, it is very important women to have equal access to formal, informal, and political education. And the best way to do this is to join an organization, especially a Pan-African organization like AAWIU. Thank you.
That was before Miss Sandrine. And she's a French from Benin and a member of the AAPRP. I love the video. I love the saying. I just love the presentation. Don't you love it? Please give another applause. Well, okay, I already informed you that there's going to be another interesting game. And it will be done within the presentation, so it's time. It's about time now. There's an audience participation thing by Dr. Z. So it's about rich proverbs. You love proverbs, African proverbs? So who can say one African proverb?
Let's hear one.
Let's hear one African proverb. In Twi, about women. She says about women, so about women. In Twi, in English, in French, like before Miss Sandrine. Alright, I've just been corrected on something. Before Miss Sandrine is an African woman who speaks French, and not a French from Benin. Because Africans are one people, we have our participation. Thank you very much. Okay, so back to the proverb then.
Good afternoon. The proverb I have is educate a man and you educate an individual. To educate a woman, you educate a nation.
Wow, that is true. If you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a whole nation. Yeah, so I can see a lot of you are interested in the proverb thing. Okay, the very last one, and then we go on with our game. You want to spoil it for us, yeah?
Good evening. I'm Nanadra. There's one that goes like this. Behind every successful man, there is a woman.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Behind every successful man is a woman.
Just a comment on that one. That proverb has gotten a remix. Okay. Behind scenes, she is. So now they said beside. Yes. It's on his right. You see the complementary role.
Okay.
It's no longer behind. So take note of the remix.
Okay. That was nice one. So Dr. Z will take over. Dr. Z will take over.
Greetings, everybody. So yeah, Africa is rich in wisdom. And part of that wisdom is contained in our proverbs all over the continent. So what we're going to do is do a little audience participation. And I'd like to have a show of hands for like 3 volunteers. And prayerfully if you're sitting next to male-female pairs. So I want the 2, like, can I get you to volunteer? You 2 for this participation?
That might be a little problem because of the language.
Okay.
It's French, but you get somebody to translate and they got it.
Can you translate for us, People May? People May, if she speaks, can you translate for us?
Okay, great.
Okay, I need 2 more male-female couple pairs. Okay, we got 2 people here. Give me 2 more. If you're sitting next to a male, we need male and female participation. Okay, so what we're going to do is in my hand. I have some African proverbs. And you're going to pull one from my hand, and then one person will read it and comment from the male perspective, what does that mean to you? And then we hear from the female perspective what that means to her, how she interprets the proverb. Okay, so here we go.
It is?
Yes.
Okay. It is woman, okay. It is woman who gives birth to man.
C'est une femme qui donne naissance à un homme. C'est une femme qui donne naissance à un homme. C'est ce que le proverbe dit.
It is woman that gives birth.
It is woman who gives birth to
C'est
man.
la femme qui donne naissance à l'homme.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Tu comprends? Je suis en train de traduire dans le proverbe qu'il a tiré, la femme de dire, c'est la femme qui donne naissance à l'homme.
Yeah. Well, you see, me, I'm a revolutionary, so it's not difficult for me to understand the importance of woman. You know, I mean, there's one lady, who was that? Was it Sojourner Truth, who said Jesus was created by a woman and God, man had nothing to do with it. So, all praises to the African woman.
So, sister, would you like to comment on this proverb?
Est-ce que tu aimerais commenter sur le proverbe? Quand on dit c'est la femme qui donne naissance à l'homme, qu'est-ce que tu penses de cela?
Oui, moi je vois que c'est pas la femme seule qui peut donner homme. Mais
I think it's not only woman who gives birth to man, but
homme aussi peut faire quelque chose à femme. Donc moi je pense comme ça.
man also can do something to woman. That's what I think.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to our next pair.
A wise man knows how to keep his woman happy. First of all, you have to admit she's always right. You have to admit she's always right. She's always right. That I don't even have to say anymore. I think I'll stop at that.
There's a saying, happy wife, happy life. And I think this encapsulates it. A wise man knows how to keep his woman happy. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes. They say, give a woman what she wants and she'll give you what you need. No, give a woman what she needs and she'll give you what you want. Okay, we have our last pair here.
A man is the head of his household, but woman is the neck that turns the head. Okay, I see it this way. A man may lead and all that in the house, but maybe the woman has to point him in the right direction for him to get it right.
I think the man is the head of the house and the woman is his partner, so they make the decisions together.
Now, I think that was just fun and fantastic.
Thank you for the smart one, Dr. Z.
Thank you so much as well for the opportunity.
Okay. I would want to acknowledge our our brother who is here to support the event. He is Brother Matthew from Excelsive Africa Consulting in Azania, South Africa, where Pan-African history began. So that's Brother Matthew. Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting the event. Okay, so we will have our last but not the least, we'll have our last present thing by Nanaya from AAPRP.
Greetings, everybody. Madam NC, can you come and clear the pulpit, please?
Sorry, Nanaya.
Greetings, everyone, and I first of all want to congratulate everybody and encourage the sisters who are here to participate more in organization and in such events. I would salute everybody who is here because it takes dedication and commitment to be part of a Pan-African movement and to be part of an event like this. I salute you all and I say Ayiko. My colleagues, the two speakers, spoke on education and health. I will be speaking on economics, the African woman and economics. I would like to start with a quote from Ashata Sakor, who says that people get used to anything. The less you think about your oppression, the more you tolerate the growth of it. Accepting the current economic dispensation in Africa and the discrimination of women is to tolerate its growth. After a while, people just think that oppression is something that is a normal thing that people used to go with. But to become free, you have to be acutely aware of being a slave and free yourself from it. We currently have an economic challenge when we are slaves in the economic perspective as Africans. Today, I'd like to address our current conditions as African women specifically, focusing on economics with emphasis on agriculture, trade, and Africa's relationship with international finance organizations. I hope my presentation today will help us investigate the paradox of the increased persistent discrimination against women in economics and the overwhelming importance that women contribute towards the economic front in Africa. Women's economic activities in the informal economy largely represent the commercialization of domestic skills and dependency of social networks. The shunting of female production in the informal sector in the male-dominated colonial economy is easy to understand, but why has this informal economy persisted where female production is concerned well beyond the colonial period, means today? Although women's contribution to growth and economic development seem to be positive and significant in African economies, little do we hear of it. The few that we know, we actually do not even understand their role and how we can relate it to our current lives or daily lives as African women. I'd like to try and define economics in our neo-colonialized educational system that we have in Africa, where we all learn in our books that economics is a social science that studies how individuals, governments, firms, organizations make choices of allocating scarce resources to satisfy their unlimited wants. I mean, economics is often referred to as the Smith science. I'd like to look at a revolutionary perspective of economics, which looks at, or which puts people's choices first in looking at allocation of resources. The welfare of the people as first, both internationally, locally, or nationally. The collective ownership and distribution of resources is scientifically fair and equal under a socialist system. I think that socialism, or scientific socialism, really best addresses the issue of economics in Africa, and even at large, and in a global level. When we look at a capitalist system, sees economics as a price system, profit and loss thing, private property owning system. But socialism doesn't look at it like that. It sees the collective planning and ownership of resources key and prime. Proponents of socialism believe that this system creates equality, provides the basic needs of human, being health, education, etc. Provides these things at ease. The main goal of our imperialist system now today ensures that former imperial states still maintain economic dominance over their former colonies. This is accomplished in a form of neocolonialism, as we see today. Today, you don't see a white man with a gun in front of you and say, hey, bring me your gold, like we watched on the video. It's a neocolonial system where you have somebody who is of you, who looks like you, but the person is not about you. This person works as an agent of the imperial powers, and he or she directs the resources that should benefit all of us so we can achieve our basic aim, our basic needs of health, education, shelter, and food, drives all these resources out. Also, our colonial powers use debt. When we look at what IMF and the World Bank does to Africa, they put you all at a low level, take out your resources, what actually makes you generate your wealth and increase your productivity to become an independent, politically and economic independence state. They take it out of the way and then bring you back resources in a debt. And these debts come with high interest that you can't really pay. When you look at things around you, you see that the resources that is taken out of Africa actually are more huge than the debts that the finances they bring to us as debt. Like the former speaker said on education, the little video that we saw about IMF, Africa, and World Bank, where Africa goes to the begging bowl that I need some food to eat, and then the World Bank says, hey IMF, check this guy out, he needs food. And that's a piece of food that was given to Africa in that video. And Africa then says that we have a lot of resources. Anytime you want our gold, anytime you want our resources, come, we will give it to you. Why? Because of the current condition that Africa found itself, that temporal condition, we decided to, some of us unfortunately, with a low political consciousness and a low self-dignity of who we are as Africans and what we really have to play, the role we really have to play as a people, we give out our resources. Then they turn it back to us as debt. A very good example in the IMF issue is what is happening to Greece now. Unfortunately, capitalism has no permanent friends, but they have permanent interests. So whether you are an African or not, if they have to charge you 100% of your interest, they will do so. And that is what we are experiencing in Greece at the moment. I'll look at like I mentioned, trade and agriculture. The basic of economics is land. The access and usage of land, and control of land. The moment you lose the control or access of land, you have totally lost your basic of economics. Because it is land that you produce or cultivate for you to generate wealth. And land is a main factor of economics. Without land, there can't be labor and there can't be capital. Because capital is generated from the land that is cultivated. So if we see ourselves as Africans, and our lands are being taken away, like what is happening in South Africa, what is happening in Zimbabwe, what is happening in Ghana, where we let our lands to multinationals, to foreign companies, to actually not even go into agriculture. Most of our women, 80% of agricultural people or farmers are women in Africa. So assuming that you leave your land, that's supposed to cultivate and generate the wealth and capital that Africa needs to move forward, to multinationals and foreign companies who in turn use the land to housing, and not even moderate housing, but expensive housing that you and I cannot afford. How ironical, can you see this? When you drive through the streets of Accra today, you see huge of mansions, billions of dollars worth of it. But in the middle of the streets with people or women who are hawking, selling water at the risk of their life. And that's how low we have allowed the multinationals to take over our economic system. And as Africans, to take charge of your economic resources, you need to get yourself educated. That is why today's theme spoke a little bit about education. You have to live a healthy life and be in an organization. It is only through organization that understands that you can actually pull your ideas and potentials together. Assuming I know that if I own a land, I should be able to cultivate a land to generate wealth. And my sister, who is in front of me, has no idea about this. She thinks that she can make money from selling her land. That's a temporal thing. But if both of us are in an organization, with my view of looking at things, she gets to understand why she needs to change her way of thinking. She gets to understand the long term of having an asset and the long term of using it to the benefit of she and I, or to the collective. That is why the power of organization is very key. It pulls all the knowledge together, it brings all the resources, both intellectual and even the intellectual property that we have, together for us to push things forward. I would like to also look at the gender, social reconstruction of gender, where when we talk about economics, most people easily or quickly look at the term money, the pieces of paper with figures on it. We look at that and say, oh, when you talk about money as a Pan-Africanist, you just want to go to the capitalist world. Why do we talk so much about money and generating money when you believe you're socialist? No, that is a myth. In fact, socialism is an economic system. You can't build on socialism or scientific socialism when you don't want to do anything about your economics. You don't want to hear anything about money or capital. You actually need money to be able to run things. And that is some of the challenges that progressive organizations, not only in Ghana or in Africa, but around the world, have challenged with economics because of that myth around capitalism and money. There's no specific role about women and men when it comes to economic perspective. I can see your time. But allow me, I'm a talkative person, permit me. But there's a saying that goes that what men can do, women can do better. I want to look at it this way. What men can do, women can do equally. There are no specific roles for men and specific roles for women. If 80% of our farmers in Africa are women, it tells you the power that an African woman has on economics. Because she's controlling the land. She has access to the land. And the land is actually the base of generating the wealth. So if 80% of those controlling your land are women, it means that women actually are naturally economists. And they are supposed to take charge of our economics. And they can do only that through organization. Because organization brings your consciousness politically to be aware of yourself as African, and then you make decisions towards that. At the end of my presentation, I would like to look at, after looking at all these challenges in economics, let's look at the way forward, because I know a lot of people will say, okay, we know that these are the challenges, so what's the way forward? In my little youthful way forward that I see, I think it's about time that women take rightful place in the struggle. Because indeed, the place of the woman is in the struggle. The African woman must realize that she has a right, a responsibility to participate in the struggle for the African people, the right to self-determination. Participation in the struggle is a part of history of the African woman, the part of her present, and will be the part of her future. Women must organize their people to liberate themselves from various aspects of capitalism. This is the only solution to the problems facing us currently. African women must organize to employ the genius of all African women to move forward the advancements of socialist revolution into a United States of Africa. She must struggle to correct the backwardness of her fellow sisters who have to yet accept their responsibilities, and the men to maintain backwardness tendencies to undermine the development of Africa. The only way to deal with capitalism and to take charge of the economic system is the damaging of the root of all myths that we speak of women putting aside things, especially about economics. That if it's about economics, if it's about politics, can the women step aside? No, the women must be in the front line, like our theme is saying. You must join an organization. That is why organizations like the African Renaissance Foundation is there. They appreciate the role of the women. All African Women Revolutionary Party, they appreciate the role of the women in the struggle. We have the Black Star Line Credit Union. I also believe that they believe in the role of the women. The Rastafarian Council, I know they believe in the role of the women. In fact, more than 50% of the population of Africa are women. So if we want to advance or have victory and have the United States of Africa, would you want to go to the battlefield with more than 50% at home? Obviously, you cannot run on one leg. And in fact, one leg is 50% and the other is 50%. And if we have more than 50%, it means we have more than, maybe you have a half leg to go on the battlefield. We need our women. Alas, this cannot happen with the absence of mass organization. I'm so much keen in particular with organization because I've witnessed that organization is so powerful. Nkrumah said that organization decides everything. You can't make a decision, you can't cause change, you can't move forward if you are alone. In fact, our oppressors are together, they are united, they are in an organization. That is why you have the World Bank, it is not for one person. That is why we have the IMF, it's not for one person. So if you want to counter these actions, you really need to be in an organization because that force will be able to overtake the oppressor and give us the freedom that we need. We need a revolution of the mind. We need a revolution of the heart and the revolution of the spirit. The power of the people is stronger than any other weapon. We need the weapons of mass construction, weapons of mass love, and women are full of love. It means we need the women a lot. It's not just enough to have a system changed. We need to change ourselves, the way we think. We should begin to engage our women in every conversation at every level, be it games, at home, community level, national level, international level. We need to involve our women in such discussions. We've got to make this world a better place. Join an organization, because organization decides everything. Africa unites. Thank you.
Thank you. Nanaya. Did I say Sister Nanaya? Nana is a title too. Oh, Nanaya. Nanaya, we believe that Africa must unite. We're going to have an open discussion, but before that, I would like to acknowledge the instructor of Pan-African history. He's here, the instructor of Pan-African history. He is Dr. Kathy McCarthy Mohammed. All right, let's see a wave. Dr. Kathy. That's it. Thank you for honoring the invitation. Okay, we apologize. We are running behind time, so we have only 10 minutes for opening discussion. Okay, if you have questions, you have contributions, solidarity messages, then just raise up your hand. Oh, okay, let's not forget, there was a contest, okay? If you picked up the form for the contest, please lift the form. We want to see you for collection because it's going to be assessed. Who participated in the contest? We want to see the form. Woo! There was no contest? Amazing. You sent them. Oh, okay. Okay. I thought there was no contest. Probably you didn't want the prize. Alright, so if you have a question, I just come and give it to me.
I'm being told to be very snappy, and just like Nanaya, I'm also a talkative, so I don't know how. I'm also so I think it's in the name. Okay, my name is Sewa, and I'm the Women's Commissioner for GRASA. That's the Graduate Student Association. I must congratulate the organizers of this program for putting this together. I think it's a real big issue, and I like the discussions that we've had. There are so many issues I want to talk about, but because we don't have time, I will have those engagements when we are out, especially with the presentations you make. But in the spirit of
staying together and united and networking and fighting. There were some things that you didn't mention. As a student of African Studies, I know that as women try to fight, people say women are their own enemies. It's a very huge discourse. I would want to also bring to attention that as we are fighting for this general cause, there are also other women perpetrating some kind of, I'll put evil in quote, against their own women. When you get to the issue of widowhood rights, if you come to infant betrothal, child marriages, who are those in the front line? If we want to talk about education, if we want to talk about supporting other women so that together we can fight, if we say we have oppressors, we can have oppressors within the oppressed. And that is my concern. And I think until we have moved from oppressing ourselves, we would never get there. We need to fight our own battles before we go out to fight.
Thank you, Sewa. My namesake, I'm also Sewa. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll take a solidarity message from Madam Mariam. After that, we continue.
Good afternoon. My name is Marina Blake, and I'm an attorney. I practice law in New York. I'm between New York and Ghana, as my husband is here all the time. I go back and forth, and when I'm not in an office and I'm here, luckily for me, 2 of my children are also lawyers, so they can help to run the practice in my absence. Anyway, what I want to say this evening is that the time for women to be on the front line has never been more urgent. As many of you may know in watching the news, the black men in the United States are under attack. The state-sanctioned violence, assassination of our black men is taking place. And we cannot stand idly by while the government of the United States continue to kill our black men. They're killing our brothers, our fathers, our husbands, our sons. And we have to get involved. And in that connection, we need to petition the governments of Africa, and in particular, Ghana, with respect to its right of abode. Now I know that Ghana offers right of abode under, I think it's Section 17 of the Immigration Act. And one of the criteria for being granted, for having your application granted under that provision is that you cannot have been convicted of any crimes for which you served 12 months in jail or longer. That's going to be a problem for many of the black men coming from the West. And so what we want to ask the Ghana government to do, and I gave a similar speech a few months ago in May before the AU mission to the United Nations in New York, asking the governments of Ghana, the heads of state, to discontinue practices that would stymie the return of diasporans to the continent. And as I said, I refer specifically to the right of abode in Ghana that would disqualify a lot of black men in the United States. What we're asking the government to do is to not have that blanket provision, but rather to look at each individual case. We are asking them to understand that you have black men who are forced to actually find an alternate way of making a living because they have been excluded from when all legal means of surviving have been closed off to you, and you're forced into illegal means. And as a result of that behavior, you're then arrested and incarcerated. And then that very incarceration now acts as the disqualifying characteristic in you not being able to return to your homeland. That becomes a problem. And the governments of Africa then become co-conspirators with white governments, European governments, American governments, and even governments from the Caribbean, because they inherited the laws from their colonial master. And if your law is the law that your colonial master instituted, it certainly was not in your interest. And so they need to take that into account. And in making my speech to the AU in New York, I told them that providing context is not the same as providing an excuse. I'm not providing an excuse for black men who engage in criminality, but I'm asking them to understand the circumstances that may force honorable people to do dishonorable things. And so I say providing context is not providing an excuse, but you must look at the criminal record of these black men against the background and the environment in which they operate and how they're targeted. They're targeted for arrest, they're targeted for annihilation, they're targeted for murder. And lastly, I said to them, a Jew will not convict a Jew on the word of a Nazi. And we must not convict each other on the word of white men. We must not convict each other on the word of white men or criminal records created in white countries. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Okay, all right.
Thank you very much. My name is Musa Samtimiruku, a member of the African Youth Improvement Foundation and Roots International. The speakers touched on health, on education and economics. I believe the way forward, if you say African women on the front line, one thing they should target is their hair. The African woman has her own kind of unique hair. For health reasons, she must be proud of her own hair. For educational reasons, you have to educate your children. And you cannot educate your children to be who they are not. And even for economics reasons, we can't repatriate, we can't send our monies abroad to Brazil, to India, to buy hair. The black women should be proud of their hair. So, putting them on the front line. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you. The last one, the very last one.
And not just our hair, please. Not just our hair, our skin color. Bleaching creams is becoming an epidemic in Africa. You know how much money Africa spends on bleaching creams coming from Indonesia and China, Asia, all over the world? We are damaging ourselves. Health, Madam Health, please. We are going to have a serious epidemic with skin cancer here in Africa because of bleaching creams such as a lot of these cocoa butters and things that are coming in. We have shea butter. Let's do our own sciences. Let's make our own things. Then we can really put women on the front.
I'm so sorry. I'll have to give our brother the opportunity. That's the very last one.
Thank you. My name is Joseph Bamfudankwa, and I'm currently with the School of Biomedical and Allied Health Sciences. I want to touch on the health issues as related to our diet. My concern is Africa doesn't have problem with foods. The problem is the West is trying to influence us negatively with foods that will kill us. And interestingly, most of us are falling for it. As a matter of fact, I have met lots of diasporans who come to Africa and they live much better. So why are we suffering with diabetes, hypertension, and all of that when we have all the good foods here in our continent? Who do we blame? And I want to make a humble plea to all mothers. You are the health workers of the family. Feed us properly. I'm not joking. In Africa, mothers feed the family. And when it's about health, it's all about food. So if you don't feed us things that will make us healthy, we will certainly fall for the traps of our oppressors. Thank you.
And now, we had a contest. And then the results are out. And so, as I earlier on said, that if you're able to mention or provide the names of at least 10 Pan-African women, you'll go home with a prize. And we have one person here, Obin Danswa Nana. Obin Danswa Nana. Yeah, she was the person who came close, but did not win. Sorry, dear, but thanks so much because, yeah, you get a prize because you're the only person. You came close. We're going to give you a prize. Sister Njiba says we can give you a prize, so we're going to do that. Yeah, we are just finding a way to educate you more about Pan-African women, since we need to be fed by our mamas, so Mother Africa must also feed us, right? Thank you so much. I'll hand the mic over to Sister Njiba to give us the closing remarks. After which, when we are descending, we have something. Now we fed our minds with something over here, so we have to feed our stomachs with something too. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam MC. Okay. Good afternoon / evening, everybody. I'll be very brief because I know we're running behind time. But we think it's important as members of the All African People's Revolutionary Party and the All African Women's Revolutionary Union to recognize African women that have come before us, those that were on the front lines. So we talked about the likes of Assata Shakur in Cuba, who's a Black Liberation Army member, as well as was illegally charged for killing a New Jersey trooper, right? That African woman is on the front lines. We talked about Sister Nzinga, Queen Nzinga, who fought the Portuguese. That African woman was on the front lines. But we cannot forget about the modern day African women that are on the front lines, like these young sisters here who talked about health and education, and they also talked about economics. We also have to recognize that when we talk about the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism, we must recognize that African women must be in the forefront of that fight. We realize that in order to address the triple oppression of African women, that of race, being African, that of class, we know that we do not control our resources, so i.e. we are at the bottom of every rung in regards to class and gender. We recognize that as African women, we cannot do it alone. Many people said African women are the first educators. That is true. Many people said African women feed the families. That is true. But we must not discount the role and responsibility of African men. We must recognize that African men also must fight for the liberation not just of African women, but of the entire African continent. We recognize that there are great African women here today that will join an organization like the All African People's Revolutionary Party. We recognize that they will join any other organization that is here today in order to contribute to the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. And when we say the liberation, we mean the liberation from foreign exploitation. The foreign exploitation that's taken our bauxite, our gold, our oil, that controls our labor. Our sister said 80% of women, of people in agriculture are women on the African continent. Who's controlling their labor? Not them, not us, right? The foreign exploiters are controlling our labor. So as African people, we must recognize that it's not just good to come and sit and listen and give dissertations and clap. We must be in an organization. We must be in an organization that is fighting for Africa and African people. Not just any organization, because we can join any organization. We have to join an organization that has a political education process. Many people talked about our minds, our political consciousness. You only change that through study. You only change that through being in an organization, working and studying. So we, in the All African People's Revolutionary Party and the All African Women's Revolutionary Union, invite you to join us, because we have more room, because Africa is not liberated, and we need more Africans to help liberate the African continent and African people worldwide. So please join us. If you can't join us, there's other organizations here to join. But don't go home tonight and cook your food and hang out and watch your shows and then realize that was a good program, but I'm doing nothing else for African people until Pan-African Women's Day next year, right? How many people here are in an organization? So I see maybe 10 hands. So that means everyone else here should be out on the registration table signing up to be a member of the All African People's Revolutionary Party.
The African Renaissance Foundation. Any of the organizations that are here, you should be running them down to join an organization, right? Right? Right. Wait, right? Right. Okay. So if you didn't learn anything today, 1, African women are triply oppressed by race, and class. If you also didn't learn anything, you know that African women walk how many miles to get water, Sister Bernice? 40 billion miles to walk to get water. So is it not your responsibility, those of us who have our water here, right? Is it not your responsibility to join an organization so we can at least get that down to 20 billion by next year, right? Okay. It's important to join an organization. And the last thing, if you didn't learn anything, pick up a book. Look at a video. Listen to the likes of Assata Shakur. Go on YouTube to our All African People's Revolutionary Party YouTube channel and listen to some of the great sisters there that are speaking about the liberation of Africa and African people. Last point, please make sure you sign in at the registration table, because if you don't sign in, that means you weren't here and you can't get the valuable information. Lastly, we thank you for coming out to Pan-African Women's Day. We also know that next year, this time, everyone in this room is going to be a member of one of the organizations here, right? Right. Right? Right. All right. Members of the APRP, raise your hand. You see all these folks in here in the APRP? These are all the folks you need to be running down. Members of other organizations, raise your hand. These are all the folks. What organizations do we have in here?
African Renaissance Foundation.
What else?
Ibibitumi Kasa.
What else?
Roots International.
What else?
African Youth Improvement Foundation.
So everyone here joins one organization, we'll be set, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Forward ever, backwards never. Forward to Africa.
So there will be music at the background for you to sing for your. Oh, okay, I forgot something. For the contest, the 10 Pan-African women will be on the screen right there, so you can learn about them. Okay? So
the contest we never got.
Yeah, these are the answers to the contest we were asking you to partake in.
Yes, and I'd just like to add that the African Renaissance Foundation has